This announcement landed in a tense political climate, with Eritrea and Ethiopia's relations deteriorating. RSADO's move is seen as a calculated geopolitical strategy, not just rebellion. They aim to liberate the Afar people from Afwerki's regime, framing it as a fight for survival and identity. The implications extend beyond Eritrea, affecting regional stability and maritime trade routes. As the dust settles, the world watches to see if this spark will ignite a larger conflict. To grasp RSADO's motives, one must understand the Afar people, an ancient community living across Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Djibouti. They are semi-nomadic pastoralists and fishermen, deeply connected to the harsh Red Sea landscape. In Eritrea, the Afar are concentrated in the strategic southern Red Sea region, home to major ports like Assab. Since Eritrea's independence in 1993, the Afar have faced marginalization and persecution by the central government. Their lands have been confiscated and traditional livelihoods disrupted, pushing them into poverty. Political persecution and cultural suppression have fueled a sense of alienation. RSADO draws strength from these grievances, positioning itself as the voice of the silenced Afar. Decades of peaceful appeals have failed, leaving armed struggle as a desperate necessity. For many young Afar, it's a fight to reclaim their land, dignity, and identity. RSADO's roots trace back to Eritrea's liberation struggle and post-independence disappointments. Formed in 1999, it emerged from earlier Afar movements seeking self-determination. Initially allied with the EPLF, hopes for autonomy were dashed by Afwerki's centralization. RSADO waged a low-level insurgency from Ethiopian bases, conducting sporadic attacks. The group's visibility fluctuated with Ethiopia-Eritrea relations. The latest announcement marks a dramatic escalation, suggesting better funding and strategic planning. RSADO capitalizes on regional dynamics, positioning itself as a credible threat to the regime. This is not just another chapter, it's an attempt to force their demands onto the international agenda. The group believes its moment has arrived, challenging the regime's control over a vital region. RSADO's move cannot be analyzed without considering Ethiopia, Eritrea's southern neighbor. Once hailed for reconciliation, their relationship has collapsed, with Ethiopia demanding a seaport. RSADO's declaration is convenient for Ethiopia, which has historically tolerated its presence. Analysts suspect Ethiopian support for RSADO's offensive, despite official denials. Ethiopia uses RSADO to pressure Eritrea without direct military involvement, a classic proxy war tactic. This strategy ties down Eritrean resources and weakens its negotiating position. However, supporting ethnic-based movements is risky for Ethiopia, facing its own internal challenges. The strategy could spiral into a wider war, with devastating humanitarian consequences. For now, Ethiopia seems willing to take the risk, using RSADO as a strategic pawn. In response to RSADO's declaration, Asmara remains silent, a typical strategy of information control. President Afwerki's regime dismisses opposition as foreign-backed terrorism. Behind the silence, Eritrea's security apparatus is likely active, targeting RSADO cells. The government's default response is overwhelming force, not dialogue. The southern Red Sea region may face increased surveillance and military presence. Eritrea isolates opposition through propaganda and national service, limiting insurgent support. This system has prevented large-scale uprisings, but faces a new challenge with RSADO's capabilities. The regime confronts a potential two-front crisis, a hostile neighbor and an emboldened insurgency. Asmara's silence hides insecurity about the challenges ahead. The conflict along the Afar coast impacts a strategically vital region. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a critical global trade route, is at risk. Instability threatens maritime security, with potential piracy and shipping disruptions. Ethiopia's quest for a port ties into RSADO's fight for self-determination. Global powers have interests in maintaining stability in the Red Sea. Military bases and naval patrols counter piracy and terrorism. A new war in Eritrea could draw external actors, complicating the situation. The Afar struggle is now a global concern, affecting international commerce. The world watches nervously as the conflict unfolds. RSADO's struggle is rooted in Eritrea's dire human rights situation. The regime's totalitarian control leaves no room for dissent or political change. Indefinite national service traps citizens in slave-like conditions. This system drives youth to flee, risking death for freedom. Fear and repression maintain the regime's grip, with no freedom of speech or assembly. Ethnic and economic marginalization fuels the Afar's grievances. RSADO finds recruits among those with no peaceful options left. Human rights abuses are the fuel for rebellion, not just a side story. RSADO's fight is a product of tyranny and ambition. RSADO's rise risks turning Ethiopia Eritrea tensions into a proxy war. National borders are porous and ethnic loyalties transcend them. Ethiopia's backing of RSADO is one move in a dangerous regional chess game. Eritrea allegedly supports armed groups inside Ethiopia, creating a destabilizing cycle. A new proxy war could lead to fragmentation and regional chaos. The Horn of Africa faces a new era of conflict driven by unresolved rivalries. The future of Eritrea and the Afar is uncertain and perilous. A brutal Eritrean military response could lead to human rights abuses and refugees. RSADO's enhanced capabilities could bog down the Eritrean army in a prolonged conflict. This would pressure the regime, but mean endless violence for the Afar. A proxy conflict could escalate into a direct war between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Such a war would be a humanitarian catastrophe with global repercussions. RSADO's offensive highlights the instability of a repressive state. The Afar struggle forces the world to